Hello everyone! Today's joke of the day is, what's worse than finding a worm in your apple? Stay tuned to find out. Our learning target for today is I can evaluate algebraic expressions with squares, square roots, and absolute values. So let's review a little bit about evaluating expressions. So evaluating can also mean simplifying. Okay, so we have remembering and evaluating and simplifying are the same thing. Expressions, we need to follow our order of operations. So our order of operations is PEMDAS, right, with the P standing for parentheses or grouping symbols. So things like under square roots, inside absolute values, and above or below fraction bars. So we can have under square roots, inside absolute values, and above or below fraction bars. Those also work as parentheses or grouping symbols. So we do those first. The second thing that we want to do is exponents. And then we want to do multiplication and division always from left to right. So remembering that it's from left to right. And finally, we do addition and subtraction from left to right. So the multiplication and division and addition and subtraction are on the same line, but we just always do it from left to right. So let's practice evaluating some of these following expressions. If we have 35 minus 3 times 8, well, the first thing we want to do is we don't have any parentheses or grouping symbols or exponents. So we want to start with multiplication and division. We do have multiplication and division, so we want to start with 3 times 8, which gives us 24. And then we end up with 35 minus 24, and that equals 11. Okay, so 35 minus 24, which equals 11. Let's look at this next one. Okay, we want to do multiplication and division first from left to right. So we'll start with 18 divided by 9. That gives us 2. And then we're going to add 2 times 6. Okay, so 2 times 6 is 12. So then we end up with 2 plus 12, which equals 14. And that is our answer there. Now this next one, we have an exponent. Okay, so we want to start with that. So we will do 2 cubed, which gives us 8. Then we have to do 8 times 4. And 24 divided by 6, because we have to do multiplication and division at the same time. So 24 divided by 6, that gives us 4. Okay, so we have 4 plus then 8 times 4. So that is 32. Okay, 32 plus 4, that gives us 36 as our final answer for this one. Okay. Next one, this one we have parentheses, so we make sure we do the parentheses first. So then we end up with 12 minus 6, that gives us 6. And then we want to multiply that by, well, we have an exponent, so we have 5 squared. We have to do that first. So that gives us 25. We end up with 6 times 25, which equals 150. Okay, let's keep going and look at a few more. All right, this one, we have an absolute value symbol. We have these absolute value bars, which work as a grouping symbol. So that's the thing that we want to do first, is you want to do inside there and then take the absolute value. So we'll end up here with negative 13 plus the absolute value of negative 2 plus 5. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3, so we have the absolute value of 3, and then we're going to subtract 6. Now we take the absolute value of 3, and we end up with negative 13 plus 3, because that's the absolute value of 3, subtracting 6. And then we take, we can add those all together from left to right. So we have negative 13 plus 3 gives us negative 10, minus 6 gives us negative 16 as our answer for this one. Let's look at the next one. Here we have the absolute value of negative 7 plus 3 times the absolute value of negative 11. So we'll get the absolute value of 7 is 7, plus 3 times the absolute value of negative 11 is 11. And then we'll do 3 times 11 gives us 33. So we have 7 plus 33, which in the end equals 40. Okay. In this one, we have the square root of 12 times 3 minus the square root of 8 plus 41. Okay, here we have 2 square root symbols, which act as grouping symbols, so we have to do what's inside there first. Okay, so we want to do 12 times 3, that's 36. So we'll end up with the square root of 36 minus the square root of 8 plus 41, which is 49. We take the square root of 36, that is 6, minus the square root of 49, well, that's 7. And then we end up with 6 minus 7, which equals -1. And that is our final answer for this one. Okay, let's look at one more of these. Okay, here we have a couple grouping symbols. So we'll do those first. So we'll do our parentheses, 6 plus 3. That gives us 9. And then we're going to end up squaring that. And then we'll take that minus the square root of -4 plus 5. Well, -4 plus 5 is 1, so we have the square root of 1. Okay, now we can do our exponents and our square roots. So we have 9 squared gives us 81 minus the square root of 1, which is 1. So we have 81 minus 1, and that gives us 80. Okay, so with these, if we just evaluate the expressions following the order of operations. Now in this case, we are going to substitute and simplify some of these expressions. So we are going to look at our first one, and we're going to let A equal 7, B equal 3, and C equal 4. And we don't have a D in this first one. Okay, so this is going to go to, let's see, A is 7, so we substitute 7 in for A, plus B, which is 3, so we substitute 3 in for B, square that, and then divide that by 9, minus, we substitute 4 in for C, so 9 minus 4. And now we just want to simplify or evaluate this expression. Okay, well, we have some grouping symbols, so this fraction bar acts as a grouping symbol, and so do the parentheses. So we want to make sure that the first thing we do is those grouping symbols. Okay, so what's in there? So we have 7 plus 3, that gives us 10, and then we're going to square that, over 9 minus 4, which is 5. Okay, and then we have that equals 10 squared is 100. Okay, that's an exponent divided by 5. Okay, so then we have 100 divided by 5, and that gives us 20. So if A equals 7, B equals 3, and C equals 4, then our answer for this expression is going to be 20. Okay, so now this one, we're going to substitute 3 in for B. I'm going to use a different color here. We'll have 2 minus 3 is in for B, cubed, minus, and then we have -12 divided by D, which we're going to substitute 6 in for D, and then that's going to be cubed. Okay, so now we have to do our parentheses first. So we have 2 minus 3, which is -1, and we're going to cube that, minus -12 divided by 6, which is -2, and then we're going to cube that. Okay, next thing we have to do is exponents. So -1 cubed, that's -1 times -1 times -1. That gives us -1. Okay, and then we are going to subtract. Well, we have -2 times -2 times -2. That gives us -8. Okay, if we have -1 minus -8, well, we can chop here. That gives us -1 plus 8, which equals 7. So our answer for that one is 7. Okay, here we have to remember we're substituting 4 in for C. Okay, so we end up with 5 times 2 over the square root of 4 plus 8. So let's do our grouping symbols first. We know that this is going to give us 5 times 2, which is 10, right? We have to do each part of the fraction separately. The square root of 4 gives us 2 plus 8, okay, on the bottom, and then that will give us 10 divided by 2 plus 8, which is 10. We know 10 divided by 10 is equal to 1. So our answer for this one is 1. Okay, finally, we are going to substitute 4 in for C. So we'll have 4 squared minus 6 in for D, which is 6. And then we'll have over 2 squared plus 1 squared. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, and then we can do our grouping symbols. So the numerator and the denominator will simplify first. 4 squared gives us 16 minus 6 on the top. Then in the denominator, we have to do exponents first. So we'll do 2 squared, which is 4, plus 1 squared, which is 1. Okay, we'll simplify those again. And we'll have 16 minus 6 gives us 10, divided by 4 plus 1, which equals 5. And then 10 divided by 5 gives us 2. So our answer for that one is 2. Okay, so if we have an expression that has different kinds of symbols in it, we always have to follow our order of operation, or PEMDAS. Okay, so what's worse than finding a worm in your apple? Finding half a worm. Thanks for watching and have a great day.